Hello friends, I have created this video to discuss about origin, corruption, distortion and demonization of caste system of India. In this video, we will discuss about caste system of India and how it changed its shape over centuries. I have tried to put my best research in this video. Yes, nobody can deny that lower caste faced a tougher time while the upper caste enjoyed a better life in the later part of our history. But this video is not intended to talk about wrongs and oppression which happened on the lower castes of the modern caste system of India. Rather, I intend to discuss the Varna system, how it was corrupted and transformed into modern caste system for various reasons. I have broken this video in 3 parts. First, origin of the system in Pre-Vedic era and during Vedic era. Second, its corruption in late Vedic era, Islamic rule and European rule. And third, how it was used for gain in British rule and post-independence. This is the first video of the 3-part series and hence the focus will be on origin of this system. I have only one humble request for you to be with me till the end of this video. Bharat, a centuries-old civilization, probably the oldest. It has always been pioneer of many things. One such thing is Varna system. But how did it come into existence and why it is being discussed all over the world? To know, we must understand its origin. India to till date had 4 main types of social classification. First, in pre-Vedic period, there was unit system or Ikai Pranali, which had 4 main pillars. Jan, an individual. Grih, a household. Kul means lineage or the extended family. Gram, the local society or the village. Second such system is Varna system of Vedic period, which was brought to overcome the shortcomings of the unit system. This system also has 4 classifications. First, Brahman, the intellectuals. Then Kshatriya, the warrior class, Vaishya, the traders, and Shudra, the worker class. Third system is the Jati system, which existed during and after Vedic period. There were thousands of Jatis, which cannot be mentioned here, but the 3 main identification groups are Jati, for the people who follow the system, Ajati, for people who do not follow the system, and Adivasi, which were not either in Jati or Ajati. And the fourth is caste system, which originates from the Spanish-Portuguese term casta, which in its current form includes 4 castes. General, including Jatis which supposedly were affluent or held authority in social order, but do not draw parallel with the Varna system here. The categorization here is by Jati. Second is other backward caste, then scheduled caste, whoever did not fit in above 2 were in this scheduled list. And scheduled tribe, tribes which came under a certain scheduled list for certain tribes. The concept of Varna was originally based on one's work and duties, allowing for flexibility and change, much like the modern concept of division of labor in economics. And Varna was not merely a class, but a designation. This ancient classification system is mentioned in several scriptures, including the Mahabharata, Rig Veda, and texts like Puran, Manusmriti, Upanishads, and Arthashastra by Chanakya. In Dharma Shastra, those belonging to any of the 4 Varna were termed as Savarna, while those outcast due to criminal activities or several other reasons were labeled as Avarna, and forest dwellers were referred to as Vanars. For Avarns, a practice emerged where any form of contact with them was prohibited, with those who were punished and were labeled as Chandals, a term that has various meanings. This included not even visiting their homes or eating or drinking water with them. This societal distancing gave rise to the concept of untouchability. Untouchability was also self-imposed for other reasons across various castes, often out of fear of contagion or impurity, and was not exclusively tied to the lower strata of the society. The idea that these Varnas originated from different parts of Brahma's body is drawn from the famous passage in Purush Sukt, a hymn found in Rigved. In Mandal 10, hymn 90 and verse 12. In this hymn, the cosmic being Purush is sacrificed, and from his body the 4 Varnas emerge. The verse goes like this: Brahmanoyasya mukhmasit bahurajanyah kritah urutadasya yadaivasya padbhyam shudro ajayata, which translates to: the Brahmin came from his mouth, the Kshatriya from his arms, the Vaishya from his thighs, and from his feet Shudra were born. Brahmins from the head symbolize people with high intellect, responsible for knowledge, education, and spiritual guidance. Kshatriya from the arms represent physical strength and valor, suited for protecting society and engaging in warfare. Vaishya from the thighs signify those responsible for generating wealth and prosperity through trade and agriculture. Shudras from the feet represent the foundation of society, supporting the system through labor and services. The hymn does not suggest a hierarchy. These classes served specific responsibilities. Brahmin designates were responsible for education, literature, arts, reforms, and research on various subjects like science, dharma, warfare, trade, and social issues. Their main duties include teaching the Vedas, protecting knowledge, giving charity or dan, and performing yajna, a ritual where valuables are offered to the fire, symbolizing sacrifice of material greed. Brahmins were chosen based on intellect and wisdom. Notice I said they were chosen, means it was not by birth. Kshatriya designation was tasked with protecting society from internal and external threats, maintaining law and order, and ensuring peace. The selection was based on physical fitness, strength, and leadership qualities. Vaishya designation was responsible for managing the economy, running businesses, and supporting the state through trade and agriculture. Vaishya were often selected based on their wealth, trade skills, and voluntary participation in economic activities. And for people who did not fit into other designation were typically given employment by other Varnas and were called Shudra. They were essential for functioning of the society, though their tasks were less specialized. Rigved verse 1.113.6 says, Ut Shudraye Swayate Sadharana Pantha, which means, and for the Shudra, the common man, let there be a common path. This verse indirectly mentions that Shudra are not less by any means and should lead a common path. In the Ved, Varna signifies a variety of concepts. In the Rigved, the term Varna is mentioned 22 times, but only 5 of those instances refer to the caste system as we know it today. In the remaining 17 instances, Varna is used to describe color, qualities, nature, and the inherent characteristics of both individuals and elements like fire and water. In Atharvaved verse 11.5.1, it says, Aso yah pashyatapate savarno astu yajmanasya me, meaning, let the color of the setting sun belong to the sacrifice. In this verse, Varna is used to refer to the color of setting sun. In Rigved verse 3.34.5, it says, Yo apsujid danav jinnavataram yo rodram varn mastrita, which means he who in battles overcame the color of the Dasyus. In this verse, Varna is metaphorically used to describe hostility of enemies or Dasyus, emphasizing Indra's victory over them. In Atharvaved verse 4.16.8, it says, Ayam te varuno varuna sutam pibandindra te varnam varnam pibatu somajutim, which means, O Varun, drink som and delight in it. Indra, drink som and increase thy color. Here Varna refers to the strength or power, which is enhanced by the consumption of som or the elixir, and hence the word in the scripture should not be taken literally and should be understood with the context. Wealth and power were never the criteria for attaining the status of Brahmin's designation. Brahmins were traditionally expected to lead the most disciplined and austere lives. often embracing simplicity and asceticism. Many lived in poverty, dedicating themselves to spiritual practices, education, and service, often in isolation as sages. A well-known example is the story of Sudama, a childhood friend of Lord Krishna. Despite being friend of a king, he lived in extreme poverty and was a Brahmin. It was also rare for a Brahmin to become a king, as political power was not their pursuit, and thus they were not the most powerful in terms of material wealth or authority. Their influence came primarily from their knowledge and spiritual wisdom, rather than the dominance or the riches. Varna system was transferable also, meaning no one was part of any Varna from birth. Not only this, there were mixed Varna also, and people were allowed to have more than one Varna due to marriage or due to different qualifications. And it is stated in the texts like Garud Puran, like son of Brahmin father and Kshatriya mother were called Murdbhishikt. Son of Brahmin mother and Kshatriya father were called Sut, like Karn of Mahabharat. Son of Brahmin father and Vaishya mother were called Amvast. Son of Shudra father and Vaishya mother were called Ayogav. And son of Brahmin father and Shudra mother were called Nishad or Parvat. In Hindu scriptures, we can also see the surnames were not there, or at least not like today. Instead, they used father name or mother name as surnames like Gangaputra Bhishma, which means son of Ganga Bhishma. Sometimes they also used name of their birthplace as their surname. Eklavya and Karna of Mahabharata are great examples of mixed Varna. Karna was a Sut, which many wrongly call Dalit due to late 20th century propaganda. The story of Karna and Eklavya and how they were made heroes purposefully can be a topic for another video. Another example is sage Agastya and Lopamudra. Agastya is a revered Brahmin and a sage and one of the Saptarishis or 7 great sages. He married Lopamudra, who was a Kshatriya princess. Emperor Shantanu married Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, and made her a queen. Satyavati's son later became Kshatriya. One more example is Sautiji, who is the narrator of Mahabharata, is also a Sut, teaching various people including the Brahmins also. Vedvyas, who wrote the Mahabharata, was also son of a fisherman and Brahmin, but became a Maharshi who used to run Gurukul. Bhim, who was a Kshatriya, married the forest dweller Rakshasi Hidimba. In some ancient Vedic texts, Rakshas were not always considered purely evil. The word Rakshas comes from a Sanskrit word Raksh, meaning Raksha or protection. It could be for land, ritual or people. So if we read original texts from Vedic period, it is clear that no one exploited anyone. Everyone had the right to education. Anyone could reach any position according to its ability. Historian R.S. Sharma says, in Vedic time, Shudra were allowed to do yagna and considered pure. But later, they were encouraged to not organize yagna since it required a substantial amount of money. Romila Thapar says, Shudra were in poor condition in Morikal, which is late Vedic period, but the written tablets say otherwise. When it comes to Jati, it refers to a subcategory of Varna. While Varna represents a broader social class, Jati refers to a specific tribe or social group based on one's exact trade or skill. For instance, a person could belong to the Vaishya Varna while ironsmith or lohar being his Jati. Initially, there were around 3,000 Jatis and 90,000 endogamous subgroups. Endogamy or marrying within one's own group was popular due to local beliefs, traditions, cultural values, and various factors like race, geography, and social status, which is still prevalent. During this time, another great philosopher was born, Bhagwan Gautam Buddha, who is considered avatar of Vishnu by Hindus also. He was against Varna system, which means by this time, corruption in Varna system has already started to take place. Maybe not in all parts of India, but at least in the area where he lived. In Dhammapad verse 393, Buddha says, not by birth is one a Brahmin, nor by birth is one an Abrahmin or non-Brahmin. By deeds is one a Brahmin, and by deeds is one an Abrahmin. However, he was not completely against Varna system, because as we see in Buddhist text Amat Rasdhara, or in Hindi what we call Amrit Rasdhara by Upatissa, which is written in Pali language and Sinhalese script, and which is derived from Anagat Vams written by Kashyap, or whom we call Kashyap Rishi in Sanatan. Amat Rasdhara verse 9.4.4 says that when Buddha is asked about his rebirth, Buddha says, Tato kulam vilokento Buddha nama vesakule va suddha kule va na nibatanti lok samante pana khatya kule va brahman kule. Which means, then investigating the family, he will see a family. Certainly Buddhas are not born in the families of Shudra or Vaishya. A Buddha is born in only two types of families, in a well-respected Kshatri family or Brahmin family. And in fact, Ambata Sutta of Digha Nikadya III, he even puts Kshatri higher than Brahmin. I am providing the source in the description also. Which means he was not totally against the Varna system, but the corruption which was already germinating. Also, if we see historically, our kings have come from all Varna and Jatis. During the end of Vedic era, the Nand dynasty, which ruled India's largest district Magad, was a barbar by Jati. The Nand dynasty was started by Mahapadmanand, who was the king's barber. After that, Maurya dynasty ruled India for 506 years, starting with Chandragupta, whose origin base has different stories. Like in much later dated Mudra Rakshas, it is said that Chandragupta was both Vrishal or Shudra and Kulheen, outcast. Then came the rule of Gupta dynasty, which ran horse stables and traded horses. The Guptas ruled the country for 140 years. Except for the 36-year rule of Pushyamitra Shung and few other exceptions, most of the time in ancient India, the rule in the country belonged to those who are today called Dalits and backwards. And in some Buddhist texts, even Pushyamitra Shung is also associated with Maurya dynasty. So where did the exploitation come from? There is nothing exploitative here either. But during this time, corruption in Varna system was definitely starting, though it was minor. In the history of these thousands of years, many foreigners have come to the country who have written books on the social condition in India, such as Megasthenes, Fahian, Huansong, and Al-Baruni, among many others. No one, apart from few exceptions, wrote that anyone was exploited here. In Megasthenes' Indica, which was written 2300 years ago, he provides an account of Indian society during the reign of Chandragupta Maurya, around 300 BCE. In his description, Megasthenes discusses the Indian Varna system, including the Brahmins, whom he calls the sophists or the philosophers. In Indica, he calls Brahmins as philosophers highly respected for their wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual authority, and considers them the intellectual and spiritual leader of the society, often advising kings and playing important roles in the rituals. He also adds that the Brahmins were exempt from paying taxes. He also implies that Indian society was fluid and that people could move between Varnas based on merit and qualifications. But it was not common to become Brahmin because Brahmins led a tough and poor life. In Kautilya's Arthashastra, it is written that Brahmins can become Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra also in time of need, but they were not allowed to sell meat, salt, liquor, etc. They were also not allowed to lend money on interest, which was called kusid. Kautilya also suggested that punishment for Brahmins was not necessary to be a quick physical punishment, but even harsher public humiliation for their crimes. In this video, we tried to explore the origin of Varna system, and in next video, we will discuss about its corruption and transformation in understanding of caste system in Mughal era and under European rule. Hello friends, I know this video has been a bit long, but without all this information, it will be hard to understand the original Varna system. So it was important to put all this detail here. And these type of video require a lot of effort and lot of research, going back to history. So if you think you have learned something from this video, please press the like button, press the bell icon, share the video with your friends and family, press the subscribe button, and feel free to drop a comment for any suggestion, or if you want to see something specific in the next videos. Till then, goodbye and thank you.